Alright guys, welcome to the final team review for round 23. So it's been quite an amazing season, to be honest. Personally, my best season. We've ended up with the score of 23-62 and finished 5th overall. So I'm more than happy with the final result. Definitely more than I expected. Congrats to number 1, Ashley's Bombers. He was really good in that final game week, and I was looking at the battle between those two, and he came out on top by 6 points in the end. So I think it was that final matchup. They both had the same players, so it was confirmed that Ashley's Bombers would win it. So congrats to Ashley's Bombers as well as Carl. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result for the year. Finished 5th, like I said. So top 6, we bagged 1k, which is pretty good, and I'm happy with it. As far as our trades went for this week, we had to go a bit unique, I felt. So we had to go Walsh out. Thought he would cop the Lockie Ash tag, and we traded in Ben Keys as well as Darcy Parish for Jack Siebel, who was out injured. So those were our two trades. In the end, probably didn't go as planned because Darcy Parish copped a bit of a tag, which was unexpected, and he scored really poorly. But in the end, I'm more than happy because it didn't really make much of an impact because we still ended up finishing 5th, and the gap between me and 3rd is quite a bit. So even if we made the right trades and we captained the right player, we would have still finished, 4th or 5th. So I'm happy with the result in the end. Defense, Hall was amazing. Was considering captaining him or Zach Merritt. It was one of the two. Unfortunately, we picked the worser option. But he was really good. Always going to have a big game against Adelaide. Same goes with Rory Laird, playing North Melbourne, who gave up a lot of points, and he was huge as well. So those two were really good. Bit of a shame, Rory Laird's not going to be a defender next year, so it's going to be hard to select him. Jack Crisp with the 62 was poor, so that Essendon and Collingwood game, I was really banking on it to be a big, high-scoring game, and it wasn't. So Crisp was poor, not too much there from him. Lloyd was really good, 116. I think he's a good starting pick for next year, as well as Aaron Hall. I think both of them are really good starting picks. So he played really well, 70 at halftime, slowed down a bit in the second half, but that's fine. Whitfield, 65, yeah, it's not great. I'm not too sure whether he can be a lock next year in our team. Yeah, he's been in some pretty poor form lately. We know he has the ability to score well and consistently as well, but he's just not shown it in the last couple of weeks. So he was poor. Whether or not we select him next year is based on preseason form as well as injury and stuff like that. And Salem came through the year really well in the end. So he finished with 2 big scores. So I'm happy with that from Christian Salem. And I'm happy that we didn't trade him. Bianco's been some great cover for a majority of the year. So he's been a really good rookie, Trent Bianco. You can always bank on him to score a 60 score. So really good stuff from him. And Took Miller, 133. It's why we paid the big bucks for him to score 130 plus. And he displays it. He's a great character, great player both on and off ball. So he was really good. Tom Mitchell, 118 was also really good. Slowed down in that 4th quarter. I think he had 8 points, so it was pretty poor in that 4th quarter. Although he's had an amazing season, and he gets a lot of criticism for his possessions being cheap possessions. Although he's one of the best players in the Hawthorn midfield, and you look at his stats more in detail, and he's more than effective. He's great at inside 50s. He's working on his goal kicking, and he's a great all-round player. So, hopefully next year with the new coach, Hawthorn can play a better brand of footy, and it'll also impact Tom Mitchell's game, improve his scoring a bit, which would be good. But I think Tom Mitchell is a really good pick next year. I just love the way he plays his footy. And then Zach Merritt, 90 is not great at all. I was really mad because Aaron Hall got 37 more points than him, so we could have captained Aaron Hall in the end. We were never taking the 118 from Tom Mitchell. It was either Hall or Merritt. So I'm really upset with that we didn't go, Hall over Merritt. But in the end, it is what it is. Doesn't really impact our position too much. So that's fine. McRae was really good, 119. Oliver, 133 was amazing. One of the best on ground. Adams was probably one of the only good players that I had in that bloodbath, supposedly. So that 125 was really good. And Ben Keys is the player that got me through the line. So no one had Ben Keys. Most players had Aaron Hall, I think, and Rory Laird in that final game. And Ben Keys, we needed him to score, I think it was 110 minimum. for us to finish 6th, and he just went through the roof. You know, a 144 was absolutely huge. So credit to Ben Keys for helping me finish 5th. It was looking like a really poor round, but he dashed a massive score in the end. So I'm really happy with efforts from him. Parrish copped a bit of a tag, so I'm not too upset, but when you bring in a player for 60, it always hurts. So he could have been a lot better, but I understand he did cop that tag. And Connor West, 33. Thank God none of my premiums got injured, because if we had to cop that 33, that would affect us significantly. That's 100 less than Tuckmiller's score. So yeah, thank God our players all played this week. Rux, Grundy was terrible, 61. I don't know what's going on with Brody Grundy, honestly. And he's supposed to be a pig, but at the moment he's playing absolutely terrible. He doesn't look like it at all. So whether or not we select him next year, I think Gorn's probably a lock next year for me, based on what he's done this year. 140, he was really good, kicked the goal after the siren as well, so huge game from him. I think Gorn's probably the type of player that's gonna score 90 plus consistently, whereas Grundy's probably gonna be the player that has the high ceiling, but is capable of scoring 60s like he has done. So whether or not we pick Brody Grundy next year at the start is entirely based on probably preseason form and how he goes. Forward, Sorko was standard, the goalie was alright, and Marshall was really good. He had a good last quarter to get me to that score. But then Darcy, he was playing through injury and he looked just awful. So he scored a 44. Dangerfield scored a 78. Dangerfield just looks lethargic at points in the game, so he was poor. And then Bramble, 68. Look, we finished the year with a rookie on field, which isn't great. But I really liked Lockie Bramble. He was scoring more than most of my premiums, so we decided to hold him and just field him for the rest of the year. So he's been one of my better rookies this year. And yeah, he finished the year pretty solid in the end with a 68, although I wanted a bit more considering he was on 50 at halftime. So yeah, that's the conclusion of the year 2021. Pretty solid year. I finished 5th overall, so 1k, we definitely take that. Next year, I think what we're probably going to be doing, as far as players that we select premium wise, I think what we're probably going to be looking to do is select players that take kick-ins. So I miss Daniel Rich this year. I think he's a really good option next year, so long that he's taking his kickouts. Gets a lot of points from them, as we know, so Daniel Rich is probably a really good option for next year. Same goes with Aaron Hall, who takes the majority of the kickouts, and Jake Lloyd. So I think they're all really good players to select next year. Tom Stewart as well, if he's fit to go next year, I think he should be. Yep. He's also a really good player because he takes kickouts. And you notice that defenders that take kickouts score really well. So we're not going to have Rory Laird or Callum Mills. They'll probably be mid-onlys. So we're going to need the bulk of points from defence. So I think Aaron Hall, Jake Lloyd, Tom Stewart, Daniel Rich, players like these, players that take kickouts, are really good options to select next year. And as far as midfielders go, I think you probably want to be looking at players that work both on and off the ball. So I think that rules out Zach Merritt as an option next year. I know he's a really good player, Zach Merritt. He's averaged 110 this season, although I think there's probably better options around him. So Tom Mitchell, he's a contested ball. He works really well around the ground as well, gets uncontested possessions, he's all over the place. Whereas compared to Zach Merritt, he's a contested ball, but he doesn't work well to get uncontested possessions. So I think that, Merritt is still a good option to pick next year, although he lacks the ability to mark and work for uncontested possessions, which Tom Mitchell probably has. Same goes with Touk Miller. His work rate both on and off the ball is sensational, so he's a really good option to select. I like Jack McRae, even though he's had a mediocre season compared to what he's done in the past. But I still think he's a really good option. Oliver, I like him because he has the tackling pressure that a lot of the premiums sort of lack. So he's got the ability to get 10 plus tackles a game. Taylor Adams, I feel like him and Zach Merritt are kind of like similar players. If their team's in a good position, if they're winning, or just getting smashed completely, they just forget about it and don't try at all. I feel like they're similar players, so I probably won't be selecting Taylor Adams next year. Ben Keys I really like though, and Darcy Parish, same goes with Merritt and Adams, who I think we probably won't end up selecting those two. But players like Jack Steele, Jared Lyons, who we missed in the midfield this year, both good on and off the ball, I think are really good options. They can both really They can both score well if they are getting tagged. As we saw on the weekend, they do rack up a lot of tackles. So I think they're all really good options to bring in at the start of next year. Callum Mills, we know what a gun he is, as well as Christian Pachaka, who works well on and off the ball. So there are a lot of good options premium-wise in the midfield to select from next year. Obviously, it's really early in the preseason to be discussing this because we don't know what's going to be happening, but I think the main thing we take from this year is select players who work well both on and off the ball next year. Don't look for players who can just get contested possessions. And then as far as our rocks go, we had Grundy and Gorn for majority of the year. So in the end, probably the right call, although Grundy was really bad towards the back end of the season. So next year I think we probably start with Gorn, and I'm not sure whether or not we go the big two. We'll have to wait and see. And forward-wise, we'll have to see who's named as forwards next year because we don't know the positions yet. So, yeah, in the end, we had a really solid year. I'm pretty happy with how we finished. I hope you guys have enjoyed the AFL Fantasy Series. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Comment down if you want me to do Supercoach BBL videos or anything like that. I might be doing it. I'm not too sure. So we'll have to wait and see. But thanks for all your support. And I'll see you guys either this year doing BBL videos or next year at the start of the preseason for Fantasy.